This is Remember Me Rescue, the documentary, a non-profit film produced over 2.5 years by 2 high school students that followed the horse racing industry and what's happening behind stalls. The film divided into 2. We will talk about how the slaughter industry is involved, how it works, what are its effects on the racehorse industry, and more. And finally, how one ex-racehorse nonprofit in Burleson, Texas called Remember Me Rescue is just one of the many thousands of horse nonprofits that are combating these problems across the world. So to start us off, we will go into our first section, slaughter.
What type of pen is it?
It's a spy. It's a covert pen, in a sense.
Why we be needing covert pens?
Because we'll be doing things, recording stuff that needs to be shown. So,
do you work here?
I work at the health commission. What can I do for you?
Is there any thoroughbreds? What's wrong with his tail? You don't want to act like you don't. Congratulations, boys.
Now, do you know anything about the slaughter itself?
I know nothing. And honestly, I don't want to know. It's one of those that I just don't want the information. I know that's not a place horses need to end up. I know we need to do more, we need to do better. I don't want the details in it. Know it.
And sometimes trainers get in such a rush, it's all about the money, that they don't want to take the time to replace it, to place them in homes.
what you are seeing here is an auction, but not just any other auction. This is called a kill buyer auction, and is one aspect of the horse slaughter industry in the world. A kill buyer is a person that purchases horses and transports them to slaughterhouses or feedlots. According to the Humane Society of the United States, every year, kill buyers funnel more than 100,000 American horses, working, racing, and companion horses, and even children's ponies, into the horse meat trade.
That's from racing? That come off the track.
We don't know if it came off the track. That's just more likely to be.
Another one way to be touched with the whistle.
Yeah, I would say with the back though, the But you're looking at a farm horse.
Yeah. But what do you think?
Was it a mare, gelding?
Well, they don't let you look at website form at these auctions.
Oh, really?
Like, there's people watching.
See what
Apparently, we've
I'm
heard that not to look at those. But would you think that there should be any type of process of tracking back who sold the horse off?
They are now. Like I told you, there was a trainer in Louisiana who just eventually, 3 weeks ago, had
That was recent.
had a kill buyer coming through the backside, which David's already experienced somebody coming through our barn just wanting to pick up horses. Like I said, $200 and cheaper. They want them cheap. They don't want to spend a lot of money in them. But they give you these stories. You know, oh, there's going to be a pastoral I'm buying it for my grandson. You know, I need to.
Rodeo church organization.
Right, that was the one he got, and you can pretty much tell when they won't go over $200. You know, but this guy didn't know any better. The trainer over there didn't know any better. Sold 3 horses. He knew they needed a better home. They had to get moved out. They're sitting on the owner's feed bill. So they ended up in the Kaufman auction, and they tracked it back to the trainer. And
The trainer got fined or
lost the
suspended.
stalls also on the backside.
Yeah, lost the stalls.
Yeah, Louisiana's cracked down on it right now, and they actually have it on what we call it's our overnights, where they put out the races prior to them. We know what's going to run prior to it running, about 72 hours prior to it running, and there's memos on there of things we need to know, and that's one of them in Louisiana. Is if you're caught, your horses end up in a kill auction, that there's charges for you, and they track it back to the trainers. So, Texas, I don't know if they're doing it as much or where we're at in Texas.
Yeah, do you think that's a good thing or bad thing?
I think it's wonderful. Now, I think the only thing you have to be careful with is, because I thought about this after talking, if I brand horses for an owner leaves here, takes them back to the farm, they sell them off, I'm now responsible for something they've done once they've left my care. So I think there needs to be some type of investigation or something to find out exactly who turned them over and how they got there. Yeah, now this one the trainer actually did. He didn't know any better. He actually did. But they're looking for the trainer's names.
And all what you had just saw is inside the Johnson County Cattle in Jefferson, Texas, just off the side of the highway. They auction off horses every Wednesday night. As you probably know by now, the kill buyers fuel the slaughter of horses, and the slaughterhouses do the actual slaughtering.
What about people that were going, or you told me about people that would go around and steal horses?
Yes, I had some friends that got involved in that, who'd steal horses, show horses, and sell them to the killers. It was, very tough. It's a long time ago, but it's a very tough industry. Obviously, they were taking any horse that came them. They were taking horses that still had shoes on them, horses that still had, the Tennessee walking shoes on them. I always show horses, and so it was a tough industry back then.
Now, how did that all work? How did that function? Pretty much?
Well, the way it functions for us is that there was a gentleman that we knew. I won't mention his name, but he pretty well known around that part of the country, and among horse traders, the phrase was, "We're going to send that horse to Texas," and that was pretty much code for it's going to the killer.
There is a statistics that says that it's the same amount of horses that are dying in horse slaughter than it was before we banned it.
I believe that.
They're coming from the United States.
I believe that. Yeah. I do, because there's still the horses being.
So it's still the same problem.
And it's still the same problem. I've got customers that are over the road truckers, and they tell me stories like, yeah, we see those trucks all the time, truckload after truckload after truckload, going north, south, loaded, and coming from the north, coming from the south, empty. Horses, hundreds and thousands a day, still getting slaughtered. You still, when you go to Cleburne, to the horse auction there, that's where they're at. And they're sitting in the front row, and you see them. And the horse runs through, and the general public raises his hand so far, and then they stop, and then these guys do. And that's 38 cents, 40-something cents a pound. That's where it goes. And they load them up on those trucks, and then they send them to Canada, or they send them to Mexico. and there is no regulation, and that's no fun, and they don't get any water, and they'll stay on that truck for days on end, and they could fall off, they could get off that truck dead, and it doesn't really matter, because they still get the money, even though horses doesn't have it. I understand, I hear, and I could be wrong, but I hear through the grapevine, it doesn't matter if they walk off that truck or not. When it's cattle, that cow better walk off that truck or you don't get paid for it. Horses, I hear that you just take them, they render them.
How is the slaughtering method for horses, and is it effective, and why?
How is the slaughter method?
How is the slaughtering method, and is it safe or effective?
Well, that's a pretty much protected issue. You don't just get welcomed arms to walk into the slaughterhouse. But horses are purchased at livestock sales, or they're purchased where they're crippled or they're maimed or some reason that they can't be used as a recreational use or a professional use any longer. So something has to be done with them. The end is in sight, and unfortunately they do end up at slaughter to provide products for other industries that use horse meat. And I'm not trying to evade your question of how it's done. I'm just saying that they have inspectors, state inspectors or federal inspectors, I would suppose federal, that will inspect the animals when they come in and make sure they're healthy enough to go through this process. If they're what they call downers and they're down, they can't get up, then they're not allowed to be used as consumption of a product. Same as in the cattle industry as well, or hogs as well.
Not in the state of not actually in the United States anymore.
No,
horse slaughter is not.
Yes. Yeah,
it's in Mexico.
Disease, yeah. So, and again, I have not been in the horse slaughtering process on a day-to-day basis, but because perception, as we talked, perception of the public is not accepted with open arms about that. So, but the horses are slaughtered in the most humane way possible, and once that's done, then they go through the process like any other animal. Remove, everything and turn it into a consumable product.
Even though horse slaughter became illegal in the United States in 2007, the slaughter of horses and the kill buyers transporting horses is still alive. The last 3 main horse slaughter plants in the United States was 1 in Illinois and 2 in Texas. The footage you're seeing here is the Dallas Crown Horse Slaughter Plant in Kaufman, Texas. Dallas Crown had been through court filings and such before it closed, such as the case between Tarrant County's District Attorney Tim Curry and Dallas Crown. According to court documents that were filed in 2007, The slaughter plant was in violation of Chapter 149, which states a person commits an offense if 1. The person sells, offers for sale, or exhibits for sale horse meat as food for human consumption, or 2. The person possesses horse meat within the intent to sell the horse meat as food for human consumption. Yet, to summarize, the Federal Meat Inspection Act has a preemption clause that shoves Chapter 149 to the side, stating that the clause in no way limits states in their ability to regulate what types of meat may be sold for human consumption in the first place. Which, in the end, preventing Curry from prosecuting the slaughterhouses. Aside from court filings, the problems didn't stop there though.
Bacon says another problem with Dallas Crown was its location.
It's the first thing you see when you come into our community. And of course, the fact that it backed up to a neighborhood was really awful.
Robert Eldridge owns the land right next to the plant with his wife, Julene.
Kill day was the worst day of all. They would kill horses, and the smell was terrible.
Eldridge says it wasn't a good place to raise a family. We tried to find someone who would go on camera with us and say something positive about the plant, be it economic development or jobs created, but we couldn't. Instead, neighbors said their property values went down, their quality of life went down.
Is there any way it can be improved, or is it just it's good as it is?
Well, that's a good question. In any industry, whether it's this or any other, there's always room for improvement. Always in anything we do. We can find a better way of doing it. Do I have that answer? No, I don't. But yeah, I would think that's probably ways of improving. Just for one thing, there's not a lot of horse slaughterhouses, or you might call them abattoirs. That's the same thing as a slaughterhouse. It just sounds better, There's not a lot of them, so then you got transportation issues. These horses have to be transported long distances to get to this spot. So I think it would improve the fact that if we had maybe more of them, as versus what few we have now, and we could address the issue.
I don't like the idea of killing a horse, but look, I've seen a 30-year-old thoroughbred stand in the pasture and just sit there and go, God, if I could just end it now. He's 30 years old. He's tired. He doesn't have a predator. It's hard for him to get up. It's hard for him to eat. His digestive system isn't doing too good. He's got muscles popping, bones cracking. He looks like 7 miles of bad road. Now look, that's one of the things we can do for our livestock and our pets. We don't have to let them die. I don't tend to let my pets die. If there was horse slaughter, if there was a place where a guy like me or you could take our animal and it could be rendered and it could be at least used for some good purpose, whatever they use it for, I don't know, something. I'd feel better about that than to just let that poor son of a gun just can't breathe anymore and lays out there and dies, and then what do? Bury him? So what's his life worth now? Nothing. That was it. Walked away.
There are a lot of animals that are treated more inhumane out on the farms and ranches and pastures, whatever, than it would be going to the slaughterhouse. Personally, would I ever slaughter my horse? No, I wouldn't. But personally, I would make sure I would take care of them until they no longer with us,
This is Remember Me Rescue, owned and operated by Donna and Dallas Keene. Remember Me Rescue, or RMR, helps thoroughbred horses after their track career is over. It is one of the many Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance accredited organizations across the United States, and the only one in Texas.
Our name?
Names and what's your title, what do you do?
Donna Keene. I founded Remember Me Rescue in 2008.
I'm Dallas Keene, her husband and co-founder.
They accept, rehabilitate, and retrain ex-racehorses with the hopes of finding them new homes with responsible owners, and it all started with humble beginnings. This is Lights on Broadway, the 2001 Texas Horse of the Year. Lights on Broadway was headed to slaughter when he was identified. The Keens, who had been thinking of starting a program for off-the-track thoroughbreds, brought Lights on Broadway to their farm in order to rehabilitate him. Soon after, an article was written about the situation titled Remember Me, giving them the name for their new program. Lights on Broadway was a permanent resident of Remember Me Racehorse Rescue until he passed away on August 31st, 2014.
Like, the majority of our horses are donated by owners who love them and just want to have a better life for their horse than what they feel they could give it if it fell into the wrong hands. So they donate it to a 501 to make sure that he's got the best shot at having a career after racing.
They have numerous horses on the farm, some that in the past have won races, such as Yamidoo, the oldest living California-bred racehorse. From 1986 through 90, Yamidoo earned over $72,000 in his racing career. And some that have been through the pits of horse hell, such as Beat Bop Baby. Beat Bop Baby was a horse born from a thoroughbred breeding farm in Louisiana in January of 2012, along with 60 plus other starving thoroughbreds. When Beat Bop arrived at RMR, she was near death, even smelling like dead flesh. Now she's a glistening, beautiful mare with a personality as beautiful as she is. And along with that, the Keens are all on board with horses never being eaten for human consumption.
You know, me and Donna, another big reason why we think the rescue is very important, because we believe, horses should not be eaten. There's people that there's controversy on that and everything, but our belief is, God never intended horses to be eaten. They've fought our wars, they've built our roads, they don't have a cloven hoof and they don't chew cud, and God never intended them to be eaten, but He gave them to us for our pleasure. He gave them to us as helpmates, and horses are extremely intelligent, and we find out with these horses that come off the racetrack, they're starved to learn other things, and they love learning, and it's very rewarding when you see a horse. We got a horse called Tortuga Straits, that made $830,000, and Maggie Moss saw a need to rescue the horse. He was running for $5,000. She paid $5,000 of her money and sent him to our rescue. I mean, he's an extremely smart, intelligent horse, and he's making a really good horse. And we actually use him as our personal horse on the racetrack as a pony. And
just to show people that a ex-racehorse can do anything, even be a pony, not have to be a racehorse anymore, without a bridle.
Yeah. And he's acclimated to it, and he loves what he does, so these horses do not have to be thrown away, and I think it's very important for rescues like this that we are out there. And some people think they're just livestock and they should be able to do what they want with them, and that's where we try to come in and try to help where we can and make sure that these horses can find another home and that they're not going to be eaten or slaughtered.
Remember Me Rescue's freeze branding project has begun, and the first horse has been branded and adopted. His brand signifies he has been treated with a substance that has a lifetime ban and cannot be used for human consumption. According to the application of the freeze branding project, any horse that has ever received even one dose of bute is banned for life from being slaughtered for human consumption. And in asking track veterinarians, most agree 90 to 95% of horses at the racetrack have had bute, making them unsuitable for slaughter. This brand will signify a horse's meat is contaminated and unsafe for human consumption. Remember Me Rescue is currently in the process of registering the brand in counties in Texas where horses cross the border, and notifying every Texas sale barn and known slaughter buyer about the brand and what it stands for. We asked the Keens on how horses look when they come from a donation or rescue. After they come back, how do the horses act, and what do they look like when you guys get them from rescues or when they're donated?
We get horses in all kinds of shapes, come to us. Some horses come into us, they're very underweight, especially horses, that are bought out of sales. A lot of them have injuries to them and stuff. And then too, these horses, when they go to these kill pens, when killer buyers buy them and stuff, they'll put they'll put 20 horses in a spot where there should only be maybe 3 or 4, you know, and these horses get bit up, kicked, and everything else. So a lot of times when we go in and we do buy a horse from a sale like that, these horses are going to have a lot of injuries on them. Not only the injuries that maybe they sustained while racing, but since, you know, once they end up in the hands of a kill pen. And then too, these horses are exposed to a lot of diseases and stuff that we can't just bring them from a sale and bring them into a farm, because they're exposed to so much, you know, between distemper and just all kinds of infection and everything else. So we have to use a quarantine place in order to make sure that they're healthy before we can actually put them back into circulation.
How do you guys retrain and, in a sense, desensitize?
Well, these horses, they're, you know, when they come off the racetrack, a lot of them have learned bad habits, and it's just, you know, it's kind of a hustle and bustle every day, get your horses to the track and stuff, so time's not spent, quality time with a lot of these horses. And so once they come off the racetrack, we expose them to a lot of different things. You know, that's why we use some of our props and stuff we use to teach them new tricks and stuff, whether it's walking up steps or jumping over a log or walking over different things. You know, we use a lot of different ways of desensitizing these horses.
In the morning at the racetrack, we're in such a big hurry. The grooms are rushing. They're trying to brush their horses quickly. That irritates them, agitates them, because they would like somebody to spend more time with them. But it turns into a bad habit where they want to nip or they want to kick at the groomer. And so we put the lead line on them to teach them, you know, when they do want to nip, they just a gentle little tug a couple of times and they go, oh, I'm not supposed to do that, and they stop.
On top of that, Remember Me Rescue have been through missions, the most famous one being the Ryder River Ridge Farm in Manny, Louisiana.
Tonight we update you on the Ryder River Ridge Farm case, and we must warn you some of the video and images are difficult to watch. In January 2012, the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Department was called out to Ryder River Ridge Farm, a once prestigious breeding farm, for reports of neglected horses.
He took me over to that certain field, and of the 18 horses, about 8 or 9 of them looked like they needed some care.
We worked with another rescue in Louisiana to go in and evaluate and remove 60 horses from a farm. There was actually 120 horses there by the time we got there. Over half of them had perished. We actually took 14 or 15 of the horses from there. The remainder went to Louisiana Horse Rescue. We rehabilitated and placed all the horses that we had here from that we had received from Louisiana. The horses were in really poor shape. There's a scale that we use, a 0 to 10 scale, 0 being dead, and most of the horses we brought here were 1s or less. They shouldn't have, probably shouldn't have made it, and it was a lot of work, but it was very rewarding. One of the horses is a barrel horse now. We keep up with him quite a bit and get a lot of pictures from him. And one of the horses still lives here. Her name was Bebop Baby, and due to some injuries that she had, we don't feel comfortable adopting her, so she'll stay with us as a permanent resident, you know, and let her live out her days here.
To support Remember Me Rescue, the organization would hold events such as the annual gala around April and the Battle of the Exes.
Several years ago, Donna came up with a brilliant idea that we would hold a competition. We had went in on another rescue of a bunch of horses, and we found ourselves with quite a few horses and stuff. And so she came up with an idea of making a competition where we could find trainers out there that would want to take on the challenge, and we give them 4 months. Everybody would work on the same playing field. All these horses had to be horses that come off the racetrack, had no other prior training other than racing, and they draw for what horse they would get, and we put up $10,000 in prize money, and they would compete with these horses, and it didn't matter what they wanted to do with them, whether it was jumping, roping, cutting cows, just even working on the ground and as a companion horse and stuff, and teaching them tricks and stuff. And they would be judged, you know, according to what the horses could do and by the performance.
can't sit down, 'cause the fire is burning my tail. I can't look up.
Really impressed by the quality of the horses.
What makes about X is great is there are so many of these horses, ex-racehorses, that's how I got its name, ex-racehorse, that don't get an opportunity to shine.
The thoroughbreds are undervalued.
The trainers and their off-the-track thoroughbreds will compete for $10,000 in prize money.
Soul Company, you to be a harder man. Soul Company. Let's found a church. Let's get a crowd now. Let's go get baptized and then go out chasing new members, flooding the streets in orange costumes. You clap your hands, I'll shake my chimes, just like the Hare Krishna. I need you to be a part of my soul company. See the light and don't deny. Soul company, walk to the beat of freedom.
At 4,000 again, I'm not going to get 4,500. At 4,045, get 45, get 4,500 where? 4,045. At 4,045, get 45, 45, 45, now 5. 45, 5,000, 55. Yep, yeah, 15, 55 where? I got 5,000 here, and 15,000. 1,000 always been 1,100 where? 1,000 been 1,100. And 1,000 here, 11 down, 11 here, 1,100. 1,000 been 1,100. 1,100. And 1,000 here, 11 down.
Vicki and I just bought him personally.
Okay, Vicki, you tell her.
No.
That was great. Donna and Dallas King and Vicki Morgan bought the horse to give back to the family with the little girl, the trainer's family. She had not gotten interested in them at all. They're a horse family until they got this mare. And she fell in love with this mare. It's the only horse she's ever wanted to go ride. And they just, it was a very generous thing to do, to help this, just to let a horse crazy girl have her dream come true. It went from being crushed because she's losing her best friend to just the thrill of a lifetime. And those things can be a life-changing experience. Horses are a passion for a lot of us, an addiction, you might say.
This is more where you can
Horse racing
horse
shows.
racing horse can go. Oh, right now you have it's a low, very low.
Yeah, it has been low. And it's funny that you go from state to state. We're in Texas. You'll see Lone Star Park, the grandstand's packed, and people betting and watching the races. Gillespie this weekend had what, 3,400 or more? And
Which was big for Gillespie.
Yeah, it's
it
a
was
county fairground.
old school.
It's a very old school. Open bleachers
or whatever you call it.
down there. No
It's
air
like
conditioning.
stuff back in
3,400 people. We go to Louisiana, you might be good to have what, 50, 75 people outside watching the racing because they have the casinos. Everybody's inside betting.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no interest over there in actually watching the horses run anymore.
It's very different. San Antonio was very popular. Houston was very popular. I mean, numbers of people coming to see the race.
Right.
There's been, I read a couple of articles that it's going down. Like, not a lot of people, they're leaving, like, the track sport and everything. So what do you think the future will be?
I think that racing has gotten a little bit of a black eye in the past several years due to, some of the larger breakdown incidences like Barbaro's one. There was the Derby winner a couple of years back that couldn't finish because he had injuries. they don't do necessarily a wonderful job about communicating about how sometimes fragile these animals are and how kind of fluke things happen just like they do to people. And I think that cleaning up the industry to some extent as far as the drugs allowed would make a big difference. And I think that, focusing on the kind of the holistic view of what goes on with these animals after the fact would make a big difference to people too.
So go out, have fun at your local racetrack. It's an exciting time for everyone to go out and enjoy the track. And just because the problems are minor, such as abuse, or major, such as slaughter, or still debating, such as drugs, or organizations like Remember Me Rescue and others will not end until these problems are minimized and gone.
I won't bow down to no